Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim sarasvatim vyasam tato jaya mudirayat. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is a very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the Supreme, unto the personality of Godhead Narayan, and to Narayan, which is the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Sri Vyasadeva, the author. Hare Krishna. So we are going to continue our reading of the third canto, entitled The Status Quo. And we are reading from the third chapter, entitled The Lord Passed Time Out of Vrindavan. This is Uddhava. Uddhava was la cousin of Krishna, and very close to Krishna. In fact, he looks like Krishna. And Uddhava speaking with Vidura. They are, I don't remember where exactly. Remember where they are meeting? In the Himalaya, somewhere. Oh no, it was in the north of India. They met together, both on pilgrimage. And then Uddhava is remembering the Lord, and so many things are coming up for him. And we are going to continue with him. So we are on text 14, if I'm correct. One word at a time in Sanskrit. Kriyan.
Kian,
Bhuva,
Uva,
Ayam, Kshapita, Uru, Bara, Yat, Drona, Bhishma, Arjuna, Bhima, Mule, Astadasha, Akshoinika,
Akshohinika,
Mat Amshai, Aste, Balam, Duvishaham, Yadunam, Kriyam Bhuvoyam Kshapito Ubaro, Yadrona Bhishma Arjuna Bhima Mulai, Astadashaksho Iniko Matamsher, Aste Balam Duvishaham Yadunam, Kriyan Bhuvoyam Kshapito Ubaro, Yadrona Bhishma Arjuna Bhima Mulai, Astadashaksho Iniko Madamsher, Aste Balam Duvishaham Yadunam, Kriyam Bhuvoyam Kshapito Ubaro,
Yan Bhuvoyam Shapito Baro.
Yadrona Bhishma Arjuna Bhima Mulai.
Yatrona Bhishma Arjuna Bhima Mulai.
Ashtadashaksho Iniko Madam Sher.
Astadasaksha Iniko Madam Se.
Aste Balam Durvi Shaham Yadunam.
Aste Balam Durvi Shaham Yadunam.
Please chant.
Yan Bhuvoyam Shapito Ubaro.
Kriyam Bhuvoyam Shapito Ubaro.
Yadrona Bhishma Arjuna Bhima Mulai.
Yadrona Bhishma Arjuna Bhima Mulai.
Astadasaksha Iniko Madam Sher.
Astadashaksho Iniko Madam Sher.
Aste Balam Durvi Shaham Yadunam.
Aste Balam Durvi Shaham Yadunam. Someone online would like to chant?
Kiyam Bhuvoyam Shapito Rubaro.
Kriyam Bhuvoyam Shapito Ubaro.
Yadrona Bhishma Arjuna Bhima Mulai.
Yadrona Bhishma Arjuna Bhima Mulai.
Ashtadashaksha Hiniko Madam Sher.
Astadashaksho Iniko Madam Sher.
Aste Balam Durvi Shaham Yadunam.
Aste Balam Durvi Shaham Yadunam. One Sanskrit word and translation at a time. Kriyan,
Yan,
what is this?
what is this?
Bhuva,
Bhuva
of the earth.
of the earth.
I am
I am
this.
this.
Shapita,
Shapita
abated.
abated.
Okay. Uru,
Uru,
very great.
very great.
Bara,
Para,
burden.
burden.
Yat,
Yat,
which.
which.
Drona,
Drona,
Drona.
Drona.
Bhishma,
Bhishma,
Bhishma.
Bhishma.
Arjuna,
Arjuna,
Arjuna.
Arjuna.
Bhima,
Bhima,
Bhima.
Bhima.
Mulai,
Mulai,
with help.
with the help.
Astadasha,
Ashtadasha,
18.
18.
Aksho Inaka.
Akshahinika,
Phalanxes of military strength.
balances of military strength.
What's a vid mean?
Vid means sea.
Oh, okay. Vid, Bhagavatam 1:16-34.
The Bhagavatam 1:16-34.
Matam Shai,
Madam Shai,
with my descendants.
with my descendants.
Aste,
Aste
are still there.
are still there.
Balam,
Balam,
great strength.
great strength.
Durvishaham,
Durvishaham,
unbearable.
unbearable.
Yadunam,
Yadunam,
of the Yadu dynasty.
of the Yadu dynasty.
Translation. After the end of the battlefield of Kurukshetra, the Lord said, the abatement of the earth's great burden, 18 Akshoinis, has now been affected with the help of Drona, Bhishma, Arjuna, and Bhima. But what is this? There is still a great strength of the Yadu dynasty, born of myself, which may be a more unbearable burden. Hare Krishna. Purport by Stephen Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. It is a wrong theory that due to an increase of population, the world becomes overburdened, and therefore there are wars and other annihilating processes. The earth is never overburdened. The heaviest mountain and ocean on the face of the earth hold more living entities than there are human beings, and they are not overburdened. If a census were taken of all the living beings on the surface of the earth, certainly it will be found that the number of humans is not even 5% of the total number of living beings. If the birth rate of human beings is increasing, then the birth rate of other living beings is increasing proportionately. The birth rate of lower animals, beasts, aquatics, birds, etc., is far greater than that of human beings. There is adequate arrangement for food for all the living beings all over the earth by the order of the Supreme Lord, and he can arrange more and more if there is actually a disproportionate increase of living beings. Therefore, there is no question of an increase in population causing a burden. The earth became overburdened due to the dharma glani, or irregular discharge of the Lord's desire. The Lord appeared on the earth to curb the increase in miscreant and not to increase in population, as it is wrongly put forward by the mundane economist. When Lord Krishna appeared, there had been a sufficient increase in miscreants who had violated the desire of the Lord. The material creation is meant for fulfilling the desire of the Lord, and his desire is that the conditioned souls who are unfit to enter into the kingdom of God have a chance to improve the condition for entering. The entire process of Coxsmith's arrangement is intended just to give a chance to the conditioned souls to enter the kingdom of God, and there is an adequate arrangement for their maintenance by the nature of the Lord. Therefore, also, there may be a great increase in population on the surface of the earth if the people are exactly in line with God, consciousness, and are not miscreants. Such a burden on the earth is a source of pleasure for her. There are two kinds of burdens. There is a burden of the beast, and there is the burden of love. The burden of the beast is unbearable, but the burden of love is a source of great pleasure. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti describes the burden of love very practically. He says that the lap of the mother and the burden of wealth on the businessman. Also, he says that the burden of the husband on the young wife, the burden of the child on the lap of the mother, and the burden of wealth on the businessman, also actually burdens from the viewpoint of heaviness, are sources of pleasure. And in the absence of such a burdensome object, one may feel the burden of separation, which is heavier to bear than the actual burden of love. Sorry, I'm jumping from one line to another. I'm having difficulties. When Lord Krishna referred to the burden of the Yadu dynasty on the earth, he referred to something different than the burden of the beast. The large numbers of family members born of Lord Krishna counted to some millions and were certainly a great increase in population on the earth. But because all of them were expansion of the Lord himself by his transcendental plenary expansion, they were a source of great pleasure for the earth. When the Lord referred to them in connection with the burden on the earth, he had in mind their imminent disappearance from the earth. All the members of the family of Lord Krishna were incarnations of different demigods, and they were to disappear from the surface of the earth along with the Lord. When he referred to the unbearable heaviness on the earth in connection with the Yadu dynasty, he was referring to the burden of their separation. Srila Jiva Goswami confirmed this inference. Hare Krishna. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnanajala Shalakaya Chakshun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Shtapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Upakadamayam Datati Swapadam Tikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Pada Kamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavam Sha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Ragunatam Vitam Tam Sachivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saita Shri Krishna Chaitanya Divam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitam Cha E Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kamshana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Pire Pancha Kalpatarubhyacha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadada Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Sarasvate Deve Gauravani Pracharini Nirvase Shashu Nirvadi Paskyacha Desatarini. After the end of the battlefield of Kurukshetra, the Lord said, the abatement of the earth's great burden, 18 actual enemies, has now been effected with the help of Drona, Bhishma, Arjuna, and Bhima. But what is this? There is still the great strength of the Yadu dynasty, both of myself, born of myself, which may be a more unbearable burden. Hare Krishna. So what I noticed is that if I had read that verse on its own, some people, they just read the Srimad Bhagavatam, they don't want anybody's purport. And if I had read that verse on my own, I will have no clue what is the Lord referring to when he speaks about the Yadu dynasty being a burden for Mother Earth. So I really appreciate, and often is the case, I read a verse in the Bhagavatam and I don't really understand the import of that verse, or I don't really understand how that verse is applying to me and my progress in spiritual life, or I don't understand what's happening, what's the context of what is being said. And then always I'm in a place like, okay, let's read Srila Prabhupada's purport, because I know Srila Prabhupada is going to lead me exactly where I need to go to understand the import of the verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Of course, if we are pure devotees, we will not need that, because it takes one to know one. It takes one to know one. So a pure devotee understands the mind and the heart of another pure devotee. And like Uddhava is speaking, is speaking his heart, and is jumping a little bit there and there. Here is jumping from, like the previous verse about Dronacharya is jumping to what Lord Krishna shared at the end of the battlefield of Kurukshetra. And of course he has a train of thought, and he is connected. Uddhava is fully connected with his heart, with his crying heart, really crying in separation from Krishna, and we may not really be on the level of really understanding or diving into Uddhava's world. So Srila Prabhupada help us understand this verse. So at the end of the battlefield of Kurukshetra, Krishna speak about that great burden. In fact, we are about to start Krishna book again. We finished Krishna book. It took about 2 years, a little less than 2 years, to read Krishna book every Friday. Of course, for a few Fridays, it didn't happen, and then anyway. And we are about to start, and Krishna book start like that. He starts with Mother Earth lamenting, and she lamenting because of the heaviness of the military strength on Earth, that military strength that's materialistic, materially oriented. And that's what Mother Earth is lamenting about. She's not lamenting that there is overpopulation. In fact, overpopulation is some make-believe by the scientists. The scientists create a lot of make-believe that, for example, famine, there shouldn't be any famine on Earth, but there is famine because of human greed. Not, there is no problem for human needs. And Prabhupada speak about war specifically. Often people say there's a need for a war because there's too much population. We cannot feed everyone or take care of everyone or give job to everyone. And then some say, we don't know, but some say that, for example, the coronavirus was created also for that aim. And it was aiming specifically at killing the older people because they are a burden, isn't it? We need to maintain them. They don't produce anymore. They don't work. They are not pretty to look at. They smell bad, all that. So we need to get rid of them. Because that's true. In a materialistic society, old people are a burden. They are a burden in materialistic society because they're anchoring for and lamenting, they are anchoring for the same thing, like, being happy by drinking and eating everything they want and just enjoying their senses. And of course, they are miserable and lamenting and bitter because their senses are not capable anymore to enjoy. So, but in a spiritual society, then the elders, it becomes an asset. They become asset. They have the wisdom of the age. They have the strength of their life of practices and knowledge, and in such, the elders become a wealth, an asset for the communities and the society. So Srila Prabhupada, in the beginning of the purport, he makes it clear that Mother Earth was not burdened by the overpopulation. Mother Earth, because as a population, and it's interesting what Srila Prabhupada said. He says that on Earth there is heavy mountain and heavy ocean. So we can see, and he said the heavy mountain and heavy ocean, they carry way more living entities than there is human being on Earth. And often in classes, that's a meditation I have a lot, that how rare is the human birth. And that's why, because it is so rare, Prabhupada urges all the sages and Krishna's representatives, they urge us, take advantage of this opportunity of human birth. Like in this house, there's two of us, dear Govinda Prabhu and myself. There is only two humans in this whole house. And, just going in my kitchen lately, I have ants coming in. I used to have roaches. I don't have roaches anymore. Now I have ants. And so there is many ants coming in. I think it's because, anyways, some works that are done in the garden. And just like a square, inch square, there is like a dozen of ants. So we can see that we are really in minority, because if we were to count all the living entities here, all the insects, all the blade of grass in the yard, all the trees, and all that, we are in very, very, very small. And Prabhupada says 5% of the living entities, because the soul takes so many forms, 8,400,000 species of life. And there is only 400,000 of that's human form. So that's not the problem. That's clearly not the problem. And what is the problem is what Dharma Glani, irreligion. Irreligion is the problem. And it's a problem for everything that's happened in the material world, is irreligion. because there is a purpose. There is a purpose. We speak about being on purpose as one of the 5 principles of conscious living is being on purpose. What's that purpose? What is the purpose of creation? Like Kim and I, we are in a dialogue. We started a dialogue about creation and Adam and Eve and the snake and the apple and all that. Are we supposed to take literally that in an allegorical way? Or is it a parable? Was there ever just one woman and one man on earth in a garden of Eden with a tree and an apple and a snake? So we can conjecture, but definitely it's clear in that past times that God had an intention. If we are capable of intention, clear intention and intention, God is also capable of intention. And Prabhupada used that word, that's why I'm using it. God had an intention, Krishna had an intention. And what's that intention? To support the souls that decided to separate from him, to support them to go back to their constitutional position. Because he knows that the only way for this part and parcel of Krishna to be happy is by being connected with Krishna. It makes sense because as part and parcel, like if we have a fire and you have a spark of the fire that step out of the fire, then that spark of fire doesn't burn, it's not shiny anymore and it's not in its element. So similarly, when the spark of Krishna, part and parcel of Krishna, we're like the sun is described like the sun. There is a sun planet, there is a sun god, and then there is the sun rays, and the sun rays are particle of the sun. So similarly, we are particle of Krishna, and we shine like Krishna. And we have 72% of Krishna's 78% of Krishna's qualities. We are made of the same. It's like a drop of water in ocean is made of the same chemical than the rest of the ocean. So like we are infinitesimal and Krishna is infinite. However, we are of his nature. And when we step out of that nature, we are going to suffer. We are going to be miserable. So Krishna, you say, okay, you want to go away. Here is a place where you can go away. Here is a place where you can, separate yourself from me, be in illusion that you're in control, be in illusion that you can maintain yourself, be in illusion that you can take care of yourself, be in illusion that you can create a world that's all about you. And I'm going to create that place for you with an intention. The cosmic manifestation is intentional, purposeful, intentional, to help you back to your, good senses, to help you back to realize that you're really miserable when you try to enjoy separated from me. And so the world is overburdened when that purpose is defied, when there is defiance from the living entity that refuse to be on purpose, refuse to live on purpose. And that's Dharma Glani. Dharma Glani from the Bhagavad Gita, it explained like when there is a rise of irreligion and a decrease in religious principle, then the Lord come again and again in every millennium to help that situation. That's what Krishna tells us in Bhagavad Gita, that when there is a rise of irreligion and a decline in religious practice, then he comes and he creates a full system. And what Srila Prabhupada is saying here is that when we are aligned with that system, when we are on propos with that system, then in fact, everything flourishes around us. And of course, the Lord, we can increase in population as long as the population is aligned. That increase of population is going to be followed by an increase of production from Mother Earth, because Mother Earth is a pure devotee of the Lord, and Mother Earth is eager to serve the purpose of the Lord. Like a devotee of the Lord, a pure devotee of the Lord is one with the Lord. It's oneness. Oneness, how it is oneness? No, we are not God. No, we are not going to merge into God, but we're merging into God's desire. We are one in desire with God. So Mother Earth, she's one in desire with Krishna as a pure devotee. And if the human being on earth, they are religious, they want to make progress because Krishna wants us to make progress, then Mother Earth and Mother Nature is going to provide all the necessity for us to make progress and to go back to Godhead. So it's all aligned, it's all organized, it's all orchestrated. However, if you have a machine and the intention of the machine is not fulfilled because of the choice of the living entity in that machine, then in a sense, that machine doesn't have any reason for its existence. And that's what's happened at the end of Kali Yoga. People are, at the end of Kali Yoga, it's complete darkness. There is nobody's on purpose. There is no religion. There is no practices of Bhakti Yoga. There is no worship. There is no sacrifice, no austerity. Bhaktaram Yagatapasam, austerity for the sake of pleasing Krishna. So it's kind of that machine become useless, completely useless, no more purpose for it. And that's when it is annihilated. And that's when the soul come enter Garbhodakasha Vishnu. And of course, when if it's just one universe, that's got become annihilated. But then all creation also, when all the universe re-enter Mahavishnu. It's because at the end of Kali Yoga, there is no hope. It's hopeless. All the souls carry so much sinful reaction from their activities that at the end of Kali Yoga, there is no hope for their redemption through their own choices, let's say. There is no hope for redemption through the free will of the living entities. So the living entities are wound up, and then they are going to be cleared up somewhere in some of the 8,400,000 species, and maybe taking a ride somewhere where they are going to be gone to the Purgatory. I like that word, Purgatory. And often people don't like that word, but it's like, yeah, we need to purge. Like if we eat too much junk food, too much sugar, too much junk food, we are getting so sick that it's helpless. And in fact, the medical system, the Western medical system is so geared towards that, like enjoy as much as you want. And then we are going to put chemical in your body that will make your body even more dysfunctional. So, but if someone is conscious about their health, then let's say they have a period where they eat a lot of chemical, or they take a lot of medication, or they eat a lot of junk food, a lot of sugar, a lot of food coloring, a lot of chemical, so much in the grocery store. Yesterday, no, the day before yesterday, there is a group in Greenville that's it's food as medicine. So I joined that group because I'm trying to connect and network around Greenville, because I'm going soon to spread Srila Prabhupada's movement there, and so food as medicine. So I made a post, and my post was really about, I was asking people if there is people who can relate to my experience when I enter a grocery store. Because when I enter a grocery store, my experience is that where is the food? Because all I see is bottles and boxes. And because it's having such a long time that I mainly put really 98% of what I put in my body is wholesome, wholesome vegetable grains. then I cannot relate to those boxes as food. My body doesn't. And so I feel very, very foreign, those boxes and cans and bottles. It feels so foreign. Anyway, so I put that post there and express that and ask people, is there anybody else who has that kind of experience? Because my body is purged from that kind of food. It's completely purged. My body doesn't want that anymore. So similarly, that purging is necessary when we have eaten too much junk food and our body is so clogged that it becomes numb. Then, of course, we can go to the Western system because that's what the Western system is for. Or if we are conscious, we come to a place like, I need to clean, I need to purge. And then the purging usually is not very pleasant. It goes to like, doing certain diets, maybe fasting, maybe, making ourselves sick, like getting diarrhea or vomiting, whatever. Usually it's not very pleasant of a process. However, on the other side of that process, we are clean. So similarly, when the soul are so clogged by sinful activities, when the soul are really so like covered over, that the free will is so covered over that there is no difference between human life and animal life. And in fact, when a human act way below animal life, way below, because human beings are, when they don't align with the purpose of the creation, they do act below animals. Animals don't have greed. Animals take what they need and they go away. Animals don't kill babies in the womb. Animals, we can go to a long, don't abuse it. We can go to a long list of behavior of human beings that show how human beings are in reality, they are not like animals, they are below animal life. So when the souls are on that level, that there is no hope. There is no hope for enlightenment anymore. That's the end of Kali Yoga, and everything is destroyed, everybody is killed. And then there is the start of Satya Yuga. And in Satya Yuga, all the human beings are enlightened people. So that's how it goes. So in the purport, Srila Prabhupada says, yes, so there is no burden when we are aligned. And in fact, we can lighten the burden of the earth as we practice Krishna consciousness. Of course, we can practice for our own good, or we can practice with the welfare of others in mind. And one welfare we can think about is Mother Earth. We can work towards the welfare of Mother Earth by practicing Krishna consciousness. We lighten our burden. We lighten our burden. We team up with Mother Earth by preaching, by giving Krishna consciousness, by preaching, by supporting others to also be enlightened. Then we also serve Mother Earth to lighten the burden. So if we are devotee of Mother Earth, then that's one way we can really lighten our burden, is by enlightening others. I remember when we went to Russia, I had a very strange experience when I was in Russia, when we went to teach a foundational course there. It's just the ether. The ether felt so different than in America or Europe. There was a density to that ether. And I really felt like things were heavier. And I have heard from devotees also that, for example, maybe when they were not practicing Krishna consciousness, it was really difficult to dance. Like their body was feeling really glued to the ground, like impossibility, like, oh, I cannot dance because there's so much density. And then as the process, Cheto, Darpanam, Arjanam, Bhava, Mahadava, Agni, Nirvapanam, that process of cleaning the heart from all the dust accumulated for years and like really extinguishes that fire of conditional life, of birth and death, then little by little they found themselves lighter, that somehow their step became lighter, and then they were able to dance because there is less density. And Srila Prabhupada is described in a few places like he it was like gliding to the airport. Like a lot of devotees share how he was gliding, almost not touching the ground. And there is some people who felt that Prabhupada's feet were not touching the ground. So he was gliding, floating like, and so that's a way we can really serve Mother Earth by supporting enlightenment, by supporting everyone to be aligned with that plan of the Lord. And then Srila Prabhupada in his purport, he goes into a very interesting part of that verse that I found that if I had read the verse without Srila Prabhupada's help, I would not have understood why the Yadu dynasty were a burden on Mother Earth. Why is it that they were a burden on Mother Earth? They were all descendants of Lord Shri Krishna. How that? So Srila Prabhupada expressed the commentary of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur that there is two types of burden. There is a burden of the beast. Burden of the beast is like things in our lives that are heavy and that we don't want. And then there is a burden of love, that are things in our life that are heavy and that we do want. And he gives an example like a husband, he may receive a young wife and marry the young wife, and then he becomes a burden because he needs to protect her, he needs to take care of her, he needs to make sure that she has everything and that her Shakti can manifest because she feels really deeply secure. And for him, it becomes like a burden as a big responsibility. It is a responsibility. Often I think of men and they have so much on their shoulder. They carry so much of that burden of love, so much they are endorsed on their shoulder. There was a seminar that I took many, many years ago in Boca Raton, of all places. Anyway, I took a seminar there, and it was a beautiful process. It was so beautiful. It was coming towards the end of a 3-day course, and the facilitator, he asked all the men to come in the middle of the room. And then the facilitator, he was very expert. His father was one of the father of personal development. And so he was really, really expert facilitator. And he started to speak about the burden of love that the men carry, the burden of financial burden to feel the responsibility for the finance. They feel their responsibility for their dependence. They feel, like he speak on a social level, on a global level, on a political level, on so many levels he was highlighting. And all the men were crying and all the women were crying. And then after he came and he brought the woman around and created a room for the men. And then after he went to take care of the woman, of course. And that was very beautiful. So we can understand that, like the burden of beast, because it's not like he was only speaking about the burden of love. He was also speaking about burden of beast, that those things that come like a car that broke down or someone who died or sickness, or so many, like we practically all the adibhutas, the kleshas, the miseries, the threefold miseries of life. They are burden of beast in a sense. And then Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he said, and then there is a burden of love. That burden of like a woman who have a child. There's so much burden. Having a baby, oh God, it's such a burden. Not eating, not sleeping. I remember like I was alone most of the time with my baby, and taking a shower was so difficult. Just taking a shower, a simple shower, was so difficult because I had a newborn and I needed to wash my body and I was all alone. And it was so like such a burden. And at the same time, it was coming from such a deep place of taking on that burden out of love to be there for the baby, to protect the baby, to feed the baby. he spoke about the burden of money, which is interesting because some people, they love money so much, but it gives them so much anxiety. Prabhupada said, yeah, we want money. And then when we have it, we are so scared of losing it. So what Lord Krishna is referring to is the yadus. And the yadu, when Mother Earth approached Lord Brahma saying, oh, I'm so burdened, please do something, Lord Brahma. Lord Brahma said, okay, well, there's not much I can do, but I'm going to go to see Lord Vishnu. Like that, because like hierarchy, there is a hierarchy in the universal arrangement. It's really nice, very personal. So Lord Brahma, followed by Mother Earth in the form of a cow, and all the demigods, they went to the ocean of milk, where the Lord lived on the island called Svetadvit. And that's where Kshirodakashayi Vishnu lives, or Lord Vishnu lives. And so Lord Brahma, he went into a meditation like he did at the beginning of the creation. He does the same. He often does that. Like he speaks with Lord Vishnu to telepathy. It's like from the heart, really. It's not. It's from the heart. And then the Lord said, don't worry, I'm going to come. I'm going to diminish that burden. And all you demigods take birth in the Yadu dynasty. He gives them that order. All you demigods, I want you to go now on earth and take birth in the Yadu dynasty. And all, he said that, okay, and the Lord also. So the Lord Krishna, he had all the Yadu dynasty being his family members. That means, his father, his uncle, all that, but also all his children. So the Lord had 16,108 wives. We spoke about the wife maybe 3 or 4 verse ago. So he had 16,108 wives. And from each of his wives, he got 10 children. So 16,000, that means, wow. It's 160 and 80.
161.
161,080 people already. And each of his children got 10 more children. So that will be 1,661,008 61,800 people. So it's, almost 2 million, almost 2 million, close to 2 million people. That's a lot of people. How many people are on Earth now according to scientific people? 7.2 million. So like billion. Okay, billion. So it's a lot. So why is it that Mother Earth is burdened? Because they are enlightened. They are pure devotees. They are servants of the Lord. They are expansion of the Lord. So it doesn't make sense that Mother Earth will be burdened by the Yadus. In fact, she's happy with the Yadus. She's happy with Krishna walking on her air. She's happy with all the Yadu, like they're all enlightened. That's what we say. Like Mother Earth is happy by carrying the devotees. She wants to help the devotees. She's connecting with the devotees. She's supporting the devotees. So why is it that she will be burdened by the Yadu? And without Prabhupada's purport, we'll probably not get it. And that's why we understand everything through Srila Prabhupada. So Prabhupada explained, and he also quotes his seniors like Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and Srila Jiva Goswami about that inference. He infers something, that the reason Lord Krishna says that is because of the burden of love. And in the purport, Srila Prabhupada explained that the burden of love is less burdening than the burden of separation, isn't it? Like if a man loses his wife, or a businessman loses his wealth, his pain of separation from the wealth or the wife is greater of a burden that the burden of taking care of the wealth or taking care of the wife. So similarly, Mother Earth, of course, there is many people to feed, 2 million people to feed, 2 million people to shelter, 2 million people to take care of. And however, she's happily doing it. And them disappearing, as we will see in the next verse or two, I believe, if I remember right, the disappearance of the Yadu, because the Lord is winding up his pastime at that time, and he knows he's going to go back to his abode and manifest his pastime. And as he unwinding his pastime, he's also bringing back all his associates and all his expansion out of the earth and back to their position, maybe as demigods or back to Godhead. So he knows she's going to suffer greatly, that Mother Earth. And this morning, I read this verse and purport just before chanting japa. And while I was chanting japa, I was meditating on Srila Prabhupada. And I was meditating on Mother Earth and how happy she must have been to have Srila Prabhupada walk on earth in this Kali Yoga. Not so long ago, not so long ago, 125 years ago, something like that. 125 years ago, when Srila Prabhupada took birth, I'm imagining that Mother Earth was very jubilant, extremely jubilant. And I also imagine that when Srila Prabhupada wound up his pastime and disappeared from our vision and disappeared and completed his manifested pastime to go into unmanifested pastime, then that Mother Earth also felt the burden of love, of losing Srila Prabhupada and feeling separation from Srila Prabhupada. I'm going to stop here. Kriyambu voyang shapito hubaro Yadrona Bhishmarjuna Bhima Mulai Astada Shaksho Iniko Madam Sher Aste Balam Durvishaham Yadunam. After the end of the battle of Kurukshetra, the Lord said, the abatement of the earth's great burden, 18 Akshoinis. Oh yes, I didn't speak about that. 18 Akshoinis, 600 million people were killed during the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Has now been effected, it's having an effect with the help of Drona, Bhishma, Arjuna, and Bhima. What was this? There is still a great strength of the Yadu dynasty born of myself, which may be a more unbearable burden. So it's more unbearable for Mother Earth. In fact, those demoniac kings and army, they were not as a burden as losing the Yadu. Hare Krishna, thank you for listening. Is there any comment, question, sharing about what's happening for you in regard to this amazing verse and purport? The purport is so full. Hare Krishna, and so full and so like basic of understanding what's our situation here. Damayanti, you raised your hand.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for the class. I wondered what you thought about purgatory. Like, I have a friend who's Catholic, and we talked about it, and I like the idea of purgatory too, because it's, I don't know, it aligns with like what with the practice that, like with the teachings here from Bhagavad Gita, like about reincarnation, like the soul can go somewhere for time period when needed to purify, and then go to God. I don't know. I just wondered if you think it's like.
Yeah, that's the example I was giving earlier with we eat junk food and we make bad choices using our free will connected with food, for example, or lifestyle, that we expose ourselves to a lot of chemical. We expose ourselves to things that are toxic for the body, let's say, and then our body get clogged, very clogged, and we're using our free will to a place that's enormous, our ability to even be conscious about our food choices, then we will do something to purge that out. We'll do a cleanse, and the cleanse is not going to be very pleasant. Often it's not pleasant at all, and include diarrhea or whatever. And would you stop? And so similarly, when the soul is clogged by misuse of free will, choosing and again things that are damaging for the spirit soul, making choices using the free will to degrade the spirit soul in more and more like animalistic and below animalistic activities, which often is below animalistic activities. Then when the soul comes to that point, there is a need for purgatory. And that purgatory happen, at the time of death. Of course, I spoke about the winding up of the universe, because I was speaking as a whole, the purgatory of all the souls that are so clogged. But for the soul that is clogged, yeah, there is places. Like I just finished the 5th canto, and the last chapters of the 5th canto describe the different hellish planets where the soul is purged of their sinful activities and coming to a place of cleanliness. Like I'm clean now, I can choose, and I'm clean. So now, and that cleanliness, in fact, what's happened is that we are trained in a hellish planet to live like a hog, or to live like a roaches or whatever. And, we learn to, eat stool or whatever. And then after we come back to the cycle of birth and death in 8,400,000 species of life. And then we climb back into the evolution, almost as Darwin presented, from one life to another. But it's not the bodies changing, it's the soul changing bodies. And then come back to the human form of life. And in the human form of life, again, we get to have our free will more uncovered than in animal life, and started to make choices. So, okay, I'm doing a cleanse, and maybe at the end of my cleanse, I have a little bit more to do. And then after I come to a place like, okay, what choices I'm going to do? Am I going to continue to eat those things that are really toxic for my body, or expose myself to chemical and bad environment? Or am I going to go in nature and take the sun and eat fresh vegetable like that? So yes, purgatory is very aligned with understanding of karma, understanding of the evolution of the soul, and how the soul can go up or can go down according to how the free will is used. And then when the free will is used to a point that there is so much clogginess, then there is a need to purge all that clogginess. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Damayanti, for your question. How does that sound?
Thank you. I like to find common ground with friends, practicing, having different spiritual paths. And I like that the Catholics have this one, piece to their philosophy of purgatory, whereas other Christians don't. It's just, and I'm not criticizing the other Christians, but they just have this one life that you can perfect or go to hell type of thing. And so I appreciate this one thing about the Catholic philosophy. And I have a very close friend. I have a very close friend from childhood that we're now closer than ever. And we didn't have God in our life growing up, and now we have God in our life. But she's Catholic and I'm Hare Krishna, I guess you could say. And then it's like we just find a lot of common ground, and it's really nice. That's all. Thank you.
Yeah, well, in a Catholic religion, there is definitely a lot of bhakti and a lot of similarity. Unfortunately, there should be a lot more similarities, but because the books have been changed, then the book change created less similarity. But there was a lot more about reincarnation in the Bible before the Middle Age. and it's still there. Like sometimes, because they didn't really understand reincarnation, they left things that obviously give a hint that there is such a thing as understanding the transmigration of the soul. Bodhayantas, Paramparas, like in chapter 10 of the Bhagavad Gita, like the fruit of my pure devotee dwell in me, and they derive great satisfaction enlightening one another and speaking about me. So you're speaking with your friend, she's a devotee, and you derive a lot of satisfaction speaking about God together and enlightening each other. And it's not about being Hare Krishna or being a Catholic. This is like temporary dharma in a sense, including being Hare Krishna. It's really about going to the core, like, we enlighten each other, speaking about God together, and you find the commonality. Interestingly, the word Catholic means universal. That's what Catholic means, universal. So it's not sectarian. And so many of the saints, the ones who are really pure devotees of the Lord, who were born or get raised in that environment of the Catholic Church, then they really manifest so many qualities that are very similar to the saints in the Vaishnava tradition. Yes. Thank you. Hare Krishna. So you can speak about Purgatory. It's completely aligned. And I don't know. Yeah, I admire you for not criticizing the Christian church in America, because I do. I was born in a place where there is only Catholicism. And then to see all the degradation of Christianity, it's eye-opener to see how much like people can create craziness around something good. And there is so many Christian church and fanatic and this is philosophy that don't make sense and all those things. Anyway, Hare Krishna. Anyone else would like to share comments, question, realization?
Well, Hare Krishna. Haribol is so. I appreciated your class. I appreciate you got to what I'll call the root of essential environmentalism and ecology. Right? It's like that Earth is a person. The Earth is the body of a beautiful demigoddess. I mean, that's some fantasy, like Mother Earth, but that's a real thing. So Earth is it's a demigoddess named Bhumi. Okay, and then you got to, so it's like it's not a mechanical thing to care for Earth. So just like we're caring for a person. All right. So how can we care for Bhumi? She's a devotee of Krishna, right? So demigods generally are mixed devotees, but she's a pure devotee. Right? You referenced the first chapter, the beginning of Krishna book, which we're starting again soon. So she goes and she's feeling burdened. So they go to Vishnu, who of course is an expansion of Krishna. So she's a devotee of Krishna. So if we're devotees of Krishna, then she's happy. And then she supplies abundantly, and there could be 10 times the current human population. Mm-hmm. And everyone's abundant. Because there's an estimate of population about just Krishna's phenomenon gets into millions. But actually, if you look at like the number of servants of King Rupa Sena, then it really gets into huge numbers, inconceivable numbers. But Earth can take care, right? Earth can take care if we're pleasing her. And if we're pleasing her, and we can get the details how to please Earth, and some of the movements for ecology, they touch on some subject principles that are pleasing. But essentially, if we're devotees, okay, then naturally we're not going to waste grain by killing animals. We're not going to be vegetarian. So like all of the subject principles flow naturally from being a devotee, and then the demigoddess Earth is happy. Demigoddess Earth is happy. So it gets to the core of real effective ecology and environmentalism. And then and hearing you speak, you connected it with appreciating Srila Prabhupada. So in the first translation of his first pranam mantra, and I prefer that translation, Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Sabhagale Shivate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti, often respectful obeisances into His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada, who is very dear to Lord Krishna on this earth. Mm-hmm. In translations that came later, they took out the on this earth part. Oh, they did. Yeah, you can. Bhutale. What's that? Bhutale. Bhutale means on this earth, but somehow or other, they took out. You can look. And so I certainly prefer the on. So it's just on this earth. So that Earth must be so pleased that 126 years ago, Abhay Charan was born. Yeah. So that just reminded me of his pranam mantra. His pranam mantra there. And then that's the thing, like, okay, the Vedas, it's like the encyclopedia of spiritual knowledge. And so like it's a Catholicism, so there's heaven, hell, and purgatory. And that's true, right? And then I like that. Then the Vedas, like, so it's the same thing. Same thing. The Prabhupada will say, like, okay, there could be, like, let's say you have a dictionary for a second grader, and it's a dictionary of the English words. Then you're gonna have the Webster's unabridged dictionary for the scholar, the literary scholar. Okay, you get greater definitions, more words. So you describe, so purgatory is in the Vedas. There's like this waiting 25. Period. What's that? 25. 25 planets. Yeah, hellish planets. Yeah, it's there's 28. The way I see it is 28 categories of hellish planets. But said actually there's many, many more than that. Like 28 categories. So there's heaven. Yeah, there's heaven. Actually, okay, there's like seven levels of heaven, and then beyond heaven there's Vaikuntha, and then like 6 levels of lower planets, and then there's the hellish planet. So it just gives a lot more nuance and detail. The essence is the same. Yeah. Thank you, Hare Krishna. Yeah, and of course the essence is the same. And we have literature with more details, and that doesn't mean anything about us. And that's an important point, like enlightening each other about Krishna, about God. And like someone who is following the Catholic culture of worshiping God may be closer to God than someone who has the Veda, but someone who has the Veda and the detailed knowledge have an opportunity, a greater opportunity. Yeah. Hare Krishna. Any other question, comments? Kim. You're on mute, Kim.
Hare Krishna. Thank you for the class.
Yes.
I just want to say I appreciated your comment on when God created the earth, he had a clear intention of what the purpose was for the earth. And I appreciate that because, and what the purpose is to create a place where we could go back to him. And what I like about that is because I always felt in the Adam and Eve story, there seemed to be some messiness, like why would God create this pair of people that seem to do nothing but mess up and have such a hard time right out the gate, like just one, just seemed like a mess, and it was hard for me to understand that, like God would only do perfect things. He wouldn't do imperfect things. And the story always made me feel like something very imperfect is going on here. But if you look at it from that viewpoint, that God had a clear intention on what he wanted from material nature and the earth for humans and us as spirit souls, it makes more sense. Of course, God would have a clear intention of his creation. So I like those words that you used. I just want to appreciate that.
Yeah, Srila Prabhupada used that intention. Let me see if I can find it quickly.
The material creation is meant for fulfilling the desire of the Lord, and his desire is that the conditioned souls who are unfit to enter into the kingdom of God have a chance to improve their conditions for entering. The entire process of cosmic arrangement is intended just to give a chance to the conditioned soul to enter the kingdom of God, and there is an adequate arrangement for their maintenance by the nature of the Lord.
Did you hear that?
Yes, that's wonderful, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, and to also follow up with the Damayanti's question comment is it's not simply Earth, is that the whole cosmic manifestation, and we are in one universe, and in a sense the whole cosmic manifestation and all the universes, all the planets in these universes, and this one planet, Mother Earth, it's all made for purgatory. It's all a purgatory. The intention is purgatory. It's Durga. It's called Durga. So in a sense, we can look at the prison house, of course, ideally in an ideal system, as purgatory. Like, okay, you committed a crime, you didn't follow the rule of the law, you went against the government's rules and regulation, then we are going to put you somewhere where you're going to learn to be a good citizen again. And by going to that purgatory where your freedom is taken away and so many other things are taken away, then you're purged from your crime, and then you can come back and be a citizen. So that's the intention of the Lord, that in fact the whole cosmic manifestation is a purgatory. It's Durga, it's a fortress, it's a prison house for the soul who decided to bite the apple. Hare Krishna. You're on mute, Kim. I'm not sure I heard what you said.
I just thanking you for the point. Yes, it's very much resound. Feels right to me as the answer. Thank you so much.
And the snake of Maya is coming all the time and biting us all the time. Snake of illusion. Hare Krishna. Anything else? Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaura Premanande, Hari Hari Bol.
Hari Bol. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.